speaking of Russia, here is our media, in particular CNN. They always do a great job really focusing on the important things here. This is a real newscast, by the way, folks. This isn't fake. Here we go. You ready for this?
Okay, before we go, I really want to ask you about what's going on in Portland, Oregon. Police say that they're investigating a homicide after a person was killed last night during violent clashes there. It comes, of course, just days after 2 people were killed in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Do you have any reason to believe that Russia is trying to fuel some of the civil unrest in these cities via social media or other methods?
That was real.
Oh, why? 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 Just, I keep looking at 2020 and I think, what? What next? What is why? Why who buys this anymore? Who watches CNN and thinks that's a normal question to ask in this situation? Who?
Do you think at this point it's, I don't know what the right word is. Is it an obsession? Is it like just, is it just straight up intentional propaganda at this point?
That's a good question. Given the past 4 years, let's rewind for a second and think about right after 2016 and the Clinton campaign immediately shifting blame to the loss of Russia. And I remember, what was the book called? Was it called Shattered? Was that
Shattered.
the name?
Satire.
Yeah. And I remember there was a part in the book where Robbie Mook and the people on the Hillary campaign immediately shifted the narrative to Russia.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's all right there.
It's all right there. And so, when I look at what's going on now and how over the top it is, and I know it's a nuanced conversation, and I know that, and which we're not going to get into right now, but I can't, as a rational human being, look at that question and think that's a valid or in good faith. Why would you bring Russia into the riots right now?
Yeah, I think it is intentional, and it is just such a bad faith question because we have a systemic disease going on with police brutality, and it is systemic, and it has been going on for hundreds of years, really, when you think about it, and it has just come to a head. And to blame Russia's activity on social media on it, that is blinded by your ivory tower to the nth degree. You really think, I don't know why anyone else is upset unless they just saw some Russian memes that are telling them to be upset. I can't understand why a bunch of people want to defend their water at Standing Rock. I can't understand why a bunch of people want to defend their land and water. I can't understand why a bunch of people want police to stop systemically murdering Black people. I don't get what the problem is. It must be Russia. That is beyond insane.
Do you remember when the Yellow Vest protest started in France and Neera Tanden immediately put out a tweet that the protests in France were backed by Russia? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that specific tweet, but I want to go on the record as saying there is no way Neera Tanden hasn't blocked you.
Oh, honey, she blocked me. Oh, my goodness. She blocked me the day I got in an argument with Joy Reid. I don't know if you remember that. It was a long time ago.
I do
remember that.
Yeah, and a few outlets did. Jimmy Dore actually did a whole thing on it, and a few articles were written about it. It was bananas. But yeah, so I asked Joy Reid to not to call Bernie supporters and people on the left the alt left. And this started an entire shitstorm of Joy Reid coming after me, and and Neera Tanden, of course, Neera Tanden jumped in and talked about my white privilege, et cetera, et cetera. And I wasn't even, it's funny because back then I wasn't even I don't know, I wouldn't say angry. It's just that I've taken a lot of filters off. I used to try and be so diplomatic, and I don't have it in me as much as I used to, obviously. And yeah, she blocked me immediately. And, and her goon squad has been coming after me for years. All of her, anybody who is not aware that Neera Tanden has a troll farm on Twitter is, very gullible. You know,
Correct the record.
Yeah, and the guy, Captain America, he was on, when I saw Kamala Harris's husband in a tweet with that guy, I don't think, I mean, nothing should shock me anymore. Absolutely nothing. But to see Kamala Harris's husband tweeting out a picture of himself with the king of the K-Hive and thanking him for their very honorable support was just, you know, salt in the wound, Ron, salt in the wound. So, yeah.
I think what you get at, and this is kind of important here, is that it gets to the point where, I mean, the question that we just watched, that just gets into the line where it's enough that you're insulting the general public's intelligence by trying to make these insanely bogus connections, which is just pure by the book propaganda. But I think it's insulting to a new level because it's, I mean, to marginalize the civil unrest that is justified to just, oh, they're just being manipulated by Russia. I mean, that is, I would argue like that is condescending to the nth degree. And I think you could go, I don't think it's unfair to say it's completely racist too. Do you agree?
I agree. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off track. Absolutely. You know, but the thing is, if you've been paying attention for a while now, you've seen this line of attack with the Russia and the Russia scapegoating for so long now that it, I guess I get to the point where I don't know how much outrage and disgust I have in me for corporate media and, you know, the establishment, you know, and all of their tentacles that be, that they keep doing this. It's over and over and over again. And yes, it's racist and all of the people involved in this. I don't know how they live with themselves. I know it's a big fat paycheck. I mean, I get it. It's money. It's always money. But
one mimosa at a time, Beth.
Of course, the money helps. They like money, but yeah, yes, it's horrendous to look at what's going on in the United States. That during a pandemic, I mean, I almost feel like a broken record at this point, and I know that your listeners and people that would be interested in what we're talking about know that it's systemic racism forever in this country, and right now we're at a boiling point. Obviously, during a pandemic when Congress and the government decides to go on vacation, when people don't have health care, people don't have money to feed their family, people are pissed off, and rightfully so. And neither party is addressing what social programs need to be enacted to solve any of this. So of course it's going to get worse, and of course they're going to keep blaming Russia. And and that's why I think last night, and I'm so proud of you and so happy that you spoke last night, we have to start looking at a really viable third party. And that's, I can't, I feel physically sick thinking about voting for Joe Biden. Like, I really do. I go back and forth, and I'm very honest on Twitter about that. I go back and forth with this issue. But I can't listen. Oh my God, Chris Hedges last night, right? Chris Hedges, what an argument was that? How good of an argument was that about not voting for Biden? Right?
Yeah. And for anyone who's not sure what we're referring to, we're talking about the People's Convention, which happened yesterday. It was a fun time. And yeah, Chris Hedges, he had I thought everyone really brought it. I mean, I thought everyone had an amazing speech, and there were different ideas emphasized, and I thought people kind of laid out where they were coming from really well.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone did an amazing job. And I guess I'm just highlighting Chris Hedges because he laid it out so eloquently and systematically why this incessantly capitulating to voting in this corrupt duopoly isn't getting us anywhere. And I don't, looking at, I mean, my God, Biden's advisors talking about how we have to keep doing austerity measures after he's elected, and backing up on fossil fuel industry donations, and obviously saying there's no way he would pass Medicare for all, even if it came to his desk, he would veto it. I don't know what the hell I'm voting for with this party. Why bother? I know Trump. I get it. I get he's a fascist. I get that it's horrendous, but I don't see how Biden is an answer at this point. What are your thoughts, Ron? Where are you? I want to hear really your deeper thoughts about this.
I've never thought about this before.
I know you haven't.
I just occasionally.
I know,
like,
for you,
an election's happening.
I know you're usually, for you, it's all about cats and music. I get it, and I don't want to make your podcast political. I know that you're uncomfortable. I know you're uncomfortable with that, Ron. For you, it's all about neck exercises and cats.
Here I go.
I know Ron's doing his neck exercises, but if you could just this once indulge me, your friend Beth, Twitter Beth, and tell me your deeper thoughts about voting for Biden, if you're comfortable.
I'm in the same place as you philosophically. I think I think Chris Hedges nailed it, and I think he really summarized where people's concerns are. And I'm not going to put it as eloquently as he did, but it's kind of like, is Trump horrible to the nth degree? Yeah, absolutely. But here's the problem. And I think this is kind of like my assessment of what Chris Hedges was saying and how I feel and how so many people feel. We're at a point where we really need a transformational presidency. And it's not a matter of, just wanting to get everything you want. It's not a matter of being an idealist or a purist. It's a matter of, hey, the climate's collapsing. Hey, we've reached a point of no return on so many issues. Hey, people are dying without healthcare. Hey, we realize that the United States is a complete banana republic corporate coup that has turned its back on people during a pandemic. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's us versus the oligarchy. And the oligarchy bought both sides. This is a systemic disease. We need a transformational presidency, and neither candidate is offering it. So I'm certainly not going to voter shame anybody. I get it. Whatever you decide to do, I get where you're coming from. I live in California, so I'm not going to vote for either member of the duopoly. I get the struggle people in a swing state face. I understand, and I don't judge. I've gotten emails of people, what should I do? And I'm like, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. If you want somebody to wag their finger at you and tell you to vote for Biden or tell you to vote however, I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. You got to make your own judgment call. And whatever that judgment call is, I get it. Because, I think that when we voter shame, that's really just doing what the oligarchy wants. It really is. Because, blaming voters instead of blaming the system, I think you're missing the mark.
I remember.
Sorry.
Oh, can you hear me?
I went to unmute you, and then I know we're getting a little feedback, but then I accidentally muted you. I'm sorry.
I told you, Ron, muting me is always the right choice. I don't know if I have to keep repeating it, I will. But what I wanted to add to what you were saying is, I remember in 2008, and I was volunteering for Obama, and I remember the narrative often around healthcare was, we don't have the public support. When we get the public support, and that's when we're really going to fight. And then you look at the polls right now, and you look at the fact that 89% of Democrats support Medicare for all, and so, I think it's 69% of voters overall support Medicare for all.
Yep.
And we're still being fed this lie that it's about public support and about getting there. And if you pay attention just a little bit, if you pull back the veneer just a little bit and allow yourself to realize the manipulation and the nonsense and the absolute, inability for either party to give a damn about what their base wants. I mean, let's face it. I mean, say what you will about Republicans, but of course it's the Tea Party, isn't it? They're Koch brothers backed. So obviously, they've manipulated in that right-wing faction of their base into clearly wanting to, stay in line. I don't know how to explain it, how to verbalize it. But when you look at something like the Tea Party, I don't think you can really, compare that to what the left is fighting for. And I'm sorry, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I don't even think it's fair to say this is a leftist issue when you look at something like Medicare for all, and it does poll at 89% among Democrats and 69% overall. That's technically now that's a centrist issue because it's in the center.
I think everyone, regardless of their political ideology, wants to go see the doctor when they're sick, regardless of how much money they have. I mean, I don't know. Do you think so?
Oh, yeah, I do think that most people would be able to like to see a doctor, even though corporate media would like to paint us as the crazy radical left. And, you know, as someone, I've told you, I lived in Europe for many years. The Democratic or the quote unquote far left. And I'm not talking about the entire spectrum because there is a spectrum, but I'm talking about someone like myself who's would really like to see our country have Medicare for all and free college and these things that in much of the developed world are just taken for granted. That there's nothing radical about it. There's nothing radical about it. And that is what infuriates me. And going back to the whole Russia narrative, that's the entire thing. It's like the corporate media wants to paint everything we're fighting for is crazy. And, you know, we're being manipulated by, I remember during the 2016 primary and this time that there was so often you would hear whether it was an MSNBC pundit or, you know, the countless blue check morons on Twitter talking about, you know, I mean, come on, that we were being manipulated by Russia to fight for these crazy ideas like Medicare for all.
You know what I said to that when it came out? I said, you know what? We are being manipulated by Russia to some extent. We're being manipulated by Russia and Canada and England and France and Italy and Germany because all these other countries, they have the type of healthcare system. In Australia, they have a healthcare system where no one goes bankrupt because of medical bills. So you're right. We're being manipulated by all of them because we see the healthcare they have and we realize there's no reason we can't do that here.
And now I'm kicking myself that I didn't say that. That's brilliant. That's really good. Yeah, we are being manipulated by Russia. They can see a doctor, you know? It's crazy. Those crazy leftists wanting you not to die. God, you know, we're so evil, Ron. We are the worst people. I want you to get an education. I want you to be able to, I want you to have a living wage. And you know what? I want you to have a home. I know.
Ooh,
I am
that's
evil.
really radical.
That's evil. That's why I keep getting called a witch on Twitter because I'm so uniquely evil. I'm, you know what I'd also like? I'd like for your kids to be able to eat. I know.
Look at you.
I know.
That's just what are you just riding around on your broom, like dropping food to people and saying, get rid of high tuition, giving people homes.
I know. I'm literally on my broom right now. That's why I didn't want to be on camera today. It wasn't about the construction in my home. It wasn't. And now I feel like I can be honest with you. It's because I'm literally in front of a cauldron on a broom. So, you know, but I do what I do. This is how I get by being a witch.
Someone's got to be an evil witch who just wants people to have healthcare.
And because I'm a compassionate giver, I decided to be that person. I stepped up and I am the witch. Witchy woman.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your